for letting me showcase my work and like allowing me to meet all these amazing, cool people that not only love but appreciate art. So just a heads up, I haven't been doing this for very long, so it's going to be a short artist talk. I'll try to talk about just my process and my history in art. So all my works in that room are all hyperrealistic colored pencil drawings. So my idea or kind of theme for this body of works was to reimagine simple and nostalgic concepts with a hyperrealistic style. And my goal was to give these kind of iconic images a spotlight in a sense. So back in that room, I have a picture of or a drawing of a heart. But so if an average person just saw a heart, they wouldn't really think twice about it. When I kind of crumple it and add that extra layer aspect to it, it allows you guys to interpret it like however you want. So for me, it kind of, everybody's been through love and obviously there's ups and downs, but I feel like the crumple represents that and like giving the heart character, but it's still there. And similar with the boardwalk pieces, like you just saw a normal Monopoly title deed, you wouldn't really think twice about it, but when I crumple it and add a layer to it almost, it allows people to get those nostalgic vibes and just perceive it in whatever way they want. So I've done art my whole life. I've taken classes at Studio 101, Bemis, and Longberry Farm Studio, but I never really experimented with the hyperrealistic style or colored pencils at all until around the start of the pandemic. I remember people posting pictures online of like candy bars or flowers or kind of random objects, but I realized that they're all drawings or paintings. And to me, that hyperrealistic style was super unique and cool. And since I had so much spare time on my hands, I wanted to like practice that and develop that technique. So over the next few months, every piece I practiced, I got a little better at blending, layering, and working on different surfaces and textures. And basically over the next 3 years, I kind of taught myself this style, and I really turned into this passion, and this is what I want to do with my life and make a career out of it. And currently I'm looking at colleges, I'm looking at SAIC in Chicago, NYU, and Tufts to continue my art career or my education and learn and practice my technique. Speaking of technique, I wanted to get into how I make my pieces. So for the crumple pieces, I find my iconic image or a piece I want to work with online, and then I print it out, crumple it to my desired effect, so I have enough like crinkles and shadows and highlights to work with. And I set up my lighting and I photograph it from multiple angles. And once I have my photographic references, I can work from the photograph and the actual piece next to me and combine the two to get my like finished result. So, and then similar with the drippy hands, I dipped my hand in black paint and I photographed it near a window, so I had tons of natural light coming onto it where I could capture all the drips and reflections. And what's cool to me about those pieces is you can see the trees and the reflections in my face in the camera in some of them, which I find super cool because it adds an extra layer, a little bit character to those pieces. So that's what I really like about that. But how I actually create the pieces is once I've compiled my references together, I start with a basic sketch, just outlining the objects and marking up the details and highlights. And I started with the colored pencils, and I basically layer out very lightly the shadows and the highlights and whatever various colors I'm working with. Once I've done that, I basically continue that process where it's slowly building up these layers and until I've achieved this burnished, smooth, waxy effect, which gives it the hyperrealistic look where it's all blended and smooth. And once I have that, I basically touch up on the piece with white gel pens, little markers and erasers just to tweak it a little bit to make the art pop. So yeah, that's basically my art. Yeah, thank you everybody. Yeah, so this is the heart piece.
And what's that paper you're working on?
I work on just a cotton-based paper. It's a pretty thick cotton paper with a fairly smooth surface, so I can blend very easily. But yeah, that's the paper I work with for pretty much all these pieces. I go to Air Academy, so yeah, it's up north.
What's their art program like?
It's all right. I took AP art last year, and I learned a lot just about colleges and what colleges look for. But basically, this is all self-taught, so I kind of just work independently now, trying to Yes,
You left-handed or right-handed?
I'm
You've
lefty-handed.
done both this and
I
this.
noticed that you're using both
Because, so
hands when you
that's,
speak.
I figured you were either left-handed, and most left-handed people tend to be somewhat ambidextrous, but you were doing both this and this. And because I'm ambidextrous, I noticed.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool.
It's the same thing. It's when-
Yeah, I'm just mostly left-handed, so.
Leonardo da Vinci was left-handed.
How long does it take you to do one of those?
I remember.
It varies from piece to piece. The majority of like the bigger size pieces take around 20 to 30 hours just because, well, the detail, and then one of the pieces in there is extra detailed, so that one took me around 30 to 40 hours. And some of the smaller pieces are obviously shorter, but yes.
What gives you the most joy?
Seeing these pieces come together, like when I initially sketched them out and it's just a blank piece of paper, it's kind of hard to keep going or visualize what it's going to look like. But when each component comes together and it starts to look like real or get the effect I'm trying to do, that's what really gives me the joy to like keep going. Yeah.
Do you also draw on crumpled
I have not yet, but it'd be a tricky surface.
Tanner, what kind of colored pencil do you use?
I use basically Prismacolors just because they have a really soft, like waxy base, and that allows me to blend like large portions very smoothly. I also have a smaller set of Faber-Castells, but those are more for smaller details since they're a harder kind of polychrome base. But yeah, mostly these are just Prismacolor, yeah.
What do you use to blend with? Do you use
Um,
anything
the-
with your fingers or?
Just the colored pencils. So the process I do for that is I very lightly layer them, and since they're so waxy, when I like am pressing really hard over it, it picks up the previous colors and kind of mixes them together and blends them almost. So yeah, it's all done with the colored pencils.
Do you ever blend them with milk?
I didn't know you could do that.
Milk?
Yeah.
No brush or something? Or
Now you just dip the point of the pencil in milk in it.
Might try that.
Paint, yeah.
skim
very
milk
cool.
or whole milk?
Very small,
Yeah.
and you're going forward, you don't have a lot of retrospect, but I really appreciate, especially your analysis in a way that is very thorough, and you seem very engaged, and it's very easy to understand where you're coming from and the direction that you're pointing to. So your articulateness really helps share what you do, and that really makes it fun for, I think, an audience generally.
I'm glad. Thank you.
agree.
Yeah.
Very good.